A warm good morning to all of you. Guten Morgen for those who join from Germany. Bonjour, those who join from France. Maybe buonasera or buenos dias. It's a pleasure to start the day with all of you during this week. Really feels like a privilege, and it really warms the heart to see, all your names, every day. Really gives a good warming feeling in the midst of the darkness of this time of the year. Um, my deep gratitude to Sangha Life and also to George and Faith, who are supporting in many, many different ways. You have no idea what they are doing behind the scene. They're extremely supportive, so all my gratitude. And also for Sangha Life to offer freely, this opportunity to gather together, to practice together, to cultivate good deeds together. How fortunate we are about that. And again, as you know, these sessions are freely offered. And if you wish to support Sangha Life, to support all the teachers who are giving their time for us to gather, please feel free to donate. And I put the link on the chat for all of you. For those who are joining for the first time, my name is Sophie. I'm calling from France, near the border with Switzerland, Germany. I've been teaching the Dharma for a little while now, and I've been graduated from a teacher training program from Body College. Served as a Buddhist nun for almost 2 years and a half in Burma, and now really teaching the Dharma in different settings, in Buddhist places, but also in a hospital, and more specifically in oncology in a hospital in Geneva, to patients and also to the medical team, like doctors and nurses, which is a very interesting area to share the wisdom of the Buddha in a very, of course, secular and lay way, so that it responds to anyone from any culture. I'm introducing this aspect of my work because this morning I would like to try to build a bridge between autumn and one reality that is presented to us maybe more vividly at this time of the year is the reality of decay and death. And we'll see there are many ways to engage with that topic in not making it so heavy, really. And actually, if we look at different traditions through time and in the world, we can see that this is a very important time that is celebrated, through this Samhain or Samhain Celt celebrations. We know that in Mexico, this is also very much revered, and also in Christianity, later on in time as All Saints' Day. So it's in a way, it's a very important aspect that falls present to us. And I'll try to make an analogy really between nature cycle and this reality within us. And we could start in saying that, as cold and humid weather comes along the way, the cycle of life seems in a way to end, and what has reached a peak or has culminated in blooming or reaching a full maturity in many, many different ways is really now this time of the year slowly decaying and will soon disappear with winter. So if we take the example of a leaf from a tree that was mature, it slowly turns into incredible red or yellow color before ending falling on the floor. And this this falling on the floor and these leaves on the floor really looks like apparently to death. On one hand, it is. The leaf is gone forever, and it will never be here again. And as an entity, as an object, the leaf, separated from its environment, it is dead. But underneath, below the surface, another reality coexists as well. The reality that the leaves, on a bigger scale, in falling on the floor, will also provide nutriment for the soul, only to name this. So on that level, death becomes fully part of the cycle of life. Suddenly, death has its own purpose, its own place and necessity in order to perpetuate life. So here we really have two different realities coexisting together. And of course, we probably are all very familiar with what I've just described. But the challenge as human beings is really to learn to recognize what views we hold on to toward these two things. And this is one of the opportunity, I might say, that falls present to us. Really getting closer, getting more familiar, with maybe beliefs, biases we may have carried all along with us about death and decay. And of course, I'm not saying here that's an easy one, surely not. Because we have probably grown up in an environment or in a society where from a very young age, we have learned to put these matters away. We probably have learned not to talk about decay or to talk about death. We probably aware that we live in a society where a lot of effort are made in order to hide it, or as if it was something dirty that should not be here, that should be pulled away, in the corner. So for many years, we have learned to completely, really, this is an interesting point, because for many years, we have learned to almost completely disconnect ourselves from that aspect of life, going through us. So how, in this condition, is it possible to develop a sane and wise relationship with it? Because if we look a little bit more closer, all this decay and dying process, and that probably more manifest within us or inner life as kind of a contraction or control, instead of allowance, instead of letting be, instead of letting go. Also, express itself probably sometimes like as a sense of anxiety or fear, instead of just trust and confidence. And also maybe sometimes a lack of purpose, instead of a sense that what it is all about right here, right now, is so meaningful. And these I've just described are maybe more even vivid at falls. So how is it when we really take this great inquiry on life and death at heart? When we really break this sense of questioning? And more interestingly, what will be met? What is met there? And really a couple of questions that you can take with you. You don't need to respond now, but I think that's the kind of questions that really can accompany us all along, all through our life. What is it within us that comes and go? What is it within us that live and die? And also at the same time, what is it that is always available and never disappear? That thing that that is just blurred by a limited view. How does it feel when we are entangled, caught up with a strong sense of identity? Not realizing the reality of change, for example. We're caught up in me and mine, and I'm living this, I am that, and not realizing that all these things that constitute in this moment this sense of I, this sense of me, will be gone soon. It's really, can we make a bridge here, an analogy with this, not allowing the leaf to fall on the floor and to offer itself to the ground. And really getting a sense of how much pain and suffering is there. And on the contrary, also learning to notice when there is no one to defend. In this moment, there's no strong sense of identity to protect. Just realizing this absence and realizing how freeing it is. Just because in a way we become fully part of this natural flow of life. This path is one aspect of this path is really about learning to recognize how we navigate between these two worlds. When we try to refrain life, when we try to control life, and when we allow, and when there is this allowance of things to be, to live, to arise and to go and to pass away. And really knowing that ambivalence is really one of the things that makes us truly human, really truly human. It's not about privileging one to the other. It's about learning to navigate when we find ourselves in one or the other. And how, on a bigger scale, our life, like this leaf in autumn, falling on the ground, how can our life become an offering? And to end this very small reflection, I know this is very short, so much could be said and added to that. I would read a poem from Han Shan. This is what he says. Birth and death, day and night, running water, stagnant pool, bud and fading flower. Can I find a point at which they change from one into the other? Can my nostrils turn upwards? When the mind keeps stumbling, how can vision be anything but blurred? Stop the mind even for a moment, and all becomes transparently clear. The moving mind is polishing mud bricks. In stillness, find the mirror. Put it on the chat for you. Here it is. So from that, I invite awareness, to land in this body, to land in this moment, whether we're sitting, lying down, standing, or walking. Just getting a sense of what informs us in this moment, sitting or lying down or standing this morning or this afternoon or this evening. We're just coming and sitting, with what happened before, came in front of the screen, how we're sitting with a plan, and thoughts of what needs to be achieved and done today. There's actually nothing to change. It's just about stopping, pausing, and see and noticing what informs us right here, right now. How, in many ways, life expresses itself through thinking process, through exchange of fluids, of different things in the body, through moods, kind of state of mind. Just noticing what's happening while sitting, standing, or lying down. And just giving some time for things to just settle. Whatever object of anchor you may choose this morning that suits, it is just noticing the movement of rising and passing away of it, as whether it's breathing or listening or any physical sensation. You're really learning to be with that cycle. Rising of an in-breath, leaving for a while, culminating entering fall and die, giving rise to an out-breath. Just inviting awareness to be with the breath, the sounds, physical sensations, just an allowance to be. And no pushing, no forcing, no dryness, no striving. And noticing how we navigate between two reality. When the inflating and deflating of the abdomen, the movement of the breath happens on its own. When there is no one there, but just the breathing arising and passing away. And that other reality, when someone is doing the breath or listening, when noticing this slight tendency to control. Somebody is in breathing, somebody is out breathing. You're just noticing in terms of experience the difference when we find ourselves in that space or the other. You're just learning to get familiar with these two realities that as human beings we're going through, without judging, without adding any criticism whatsoever. Just learning to recognize this navigation from one world to the other. Noticing when contraction and entanglement form. Or when spaciousness and freedom and clarity arise from. Noticing when death is denied, refused, or when it is recognized and experienced as just a natural flow of life. Doesn't have to be complicated. Fusing tremendous amount of care and kindness. It's not about solving the great matter of life and death. It's just about getting more familiar with what informs this moment, what informs moment to moment, to deepen our understanding, to allow wisdom to shine. To free this heart and mind. Learning to engage with the process of decay and death within. As a way to attune to the natural flow of life. As a way to connect, to relate to what we are. What is it that is subject to rising, passing away, with subject to decay and death? And what is it that is always available and never dies? Where does suffering lies? Where does freedom lie? Harmonizing oneself to the flow of life. And at your own pace, your own rhythm, slowly opening the eyes. Seeing if the body needs to be stretched. This time of practice gone, formal practice gone. From eye closed to open eyes. Just a process, a continuity, conditions that are changing. Thank you. Have a good day, Catherine. So now we have some time for be reflecting, wanting to share reflection, raising questions, sharing our experience, sharing maybe how this aspect of fall informs us at that time of the year or not. We're just simply enjoying the space we find ourselves in right here, right now. Thank you, Margaret. Have a good walk with your dog. Thank you, Emma. With the falling of the leaves from the trees is revealed the big sky and the little birds. Thank you, Louise. Have a good day. Alice, I like to remember that while the leaves are falling here, some new leaves are coming to life in Australia. Oh, yeah. Yeah, sentence that you heard in a meditation. This moment is in the context of our death. Always, yes, always. Thank you, Pamela. Jane, question. Do you have more suggestion on how we can cultivate such serenity? Yeah, I guess this is a full-time job and a lifetime journey. Um, I think it's really about reminding oneself, moment to moment, as much as we can. But life and death are at play, at every moment. And it's not about reminding oneself intellectually, but it's really about meeting with that experience within. The more we get familiar with what informs us, when there is resistance, when we do not allow things to fall apart, to go, we suffer. It's about learning as well when there is no one who is trying to control this moment, how freeing and serene it is. And also, as I mentioned really yesterday, is when we find ourselves really in a very imbalanced space, to remind oneself what can warm the heart, what can gladden the heart, what can be cultivated in order to incline the mind towards, serenity, towards joy, towards more compassion, towards more kindness. Remember the words of the Buddha yesterday. Annie, yeah, yeah. I don't know if you want me to read this out loud. Um, it's difficult to be okay with suffering. I don't think it is okay to be okay with suffering, and that's one of the principles, of palliative care or hospice work. It's really about finding ways to alleviate suffering. I don't know if you're referring to physical suffering, you know, or whatever. When you enter palliative care, for example, it's really, well, I mean, in life in general, how can we first, alleviate the pain, whether it's physical pain or mental pain or spiritual pain. It's really about that. And I think it's not okay to be in pain. That's why I guess when sitting, it's important to inquire about what's the need of the body, for example. Spending an hour sitting, in strong pain. What do we get from that? What do we really get from that? So really the first thing that is important is to find a way where pain can be taken care of. whether if it's with, treatment, medication, if it's physical pain, if it's mental, emotional pain, how we can, there's so many ways that we can be supported through a therapist, through with friends. Really, there are so many things, but I don't think it's okay to be with that. Clive, you ask us to ask ourselves, what of us will pass and what will remain? I only know that my body will cease to function sometime. Is it possible to know more? I don't think, and I guess that's what the Buddha said, that it was not so neither interested what comes next, what comes after we die. It's really more, and this moment, is there reactivity? Is there grasping? Is there a strong sense of me who's trying to control, what probably was not, what hasn't taken form or shape yet? Just because of fear, just because of not being used to allowing, things to end. To know more than that, I don't know. Maybe some people would say yes, but I can't say. I really can't say. For me, the aim here is really to learn to make a difference when we resist, when we're attached, when there is a great and strong sense of self. And when this sense of self is not present, how it informs the experience, of who we are, what we are, of life. What's freeing, what's adding suffering and pain to things that are already painful by nature. Where lies joy and peace. Kevin practiced dying to every moment. Annie, I hope you're well supported. In the midst of what you're going through. There's so many, medical, there are some medical health but support, but in Switzerland, I don't know if it's the same where you are. There are a lot of, I work in a center in oncology where a lot of integrative medicines are offered. So of course I'm offering meditation, but there's so many other things, like hypnosis, like yoga, like massage, also beauty things that are helpful and support, to have a better, a sense of, what's the word in English? Not self-image, sorry, the word doesn't come back, but to feel okay with what we see in the mirror, to feel okay in our body. So these are really tremendous support, and also to have a space where we can, like we're doing here, communicate and relate to sanghas. So in the hospital, there are some places where people who are cancer, they're sharing about their experience, they're giving tips to one another, and they're even better than any other therapist, in sharing about their own experience, because they know all the tricks, all the dead ends. And really this building up this relationship between each other is also great support, and really participate to alleviate suffering, I would say. Thank you for trusting and sharing that with us, really. I think it's 9 o'clock. I wish you a good, fruitful day, and may the fruit of this practice we are undergoing together uh, bring some peace and serenity in our hearts, in the heart of others, and lead to more happiness and freedom. Thank you to all. Thank you.